All right, and we are live, and I'm hanging out here with Vicky Methven from the Methven Agency, and this is kind of a special sort of deal here. We're going to be presenting. This is a training on LegalShield, basically, to help others understand LegalShield, and so our intention is to help property management entrepreneurs understand what it is, how it can work in their property management business, eliminate some misconceptions, and showcase the importance of having the right person. And speaking of the right person, I am hanging out here with Vicky Methven. Vicky, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks so much. Hi, my name's The Secret Weapon. No, I'm Vicky Methven. I've been in business forever. For those of you who are part of NARPM, you know who I am. I've been around the halls of NARPM for about the last 10 years, but my background is business. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My dad owned companies, so I knew the lawyers by usually Uncle Jim, right? That was who they were. But I knew that everybody used them. So been in business for over 30 years. I've owned karate studios. I owned 3 taekwondo studios. I'm an Air Force vet. I was in the reserves. I owned an ad agency. A construction company was my latest for 16 years. I was a general contractor. The key is business is business is business, and we all need to just do what we need to do. So when I decided to revocate and retire my construction company, I had found LegalShield. Back then it was called Prepaid Legal. And if you guys are like me, you met a bunch of those people. So I didn't want anything to do with it. So I'm just saying, I'm with you. I feel your pain. But I've been here for 10 years because of the value. I did a 5-year look back when I saw that they had business services. And that 5-year look back on my $20,000 a year budget as a small general contractor showed 95% of my expenditures could have been handled with this service. It would have never replaced my attorney, but I could have reduced, let's go from 20,000, right? Mm-hmm. That's crazy. So I was in and knew that I needed to bring that message to people. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, but they need to hear it from somebody that's been there and does that and had the scar tissue. So that's why I do what I do. It's cool. And I get to travel. I'm in my niece's bedroom. Thanks, guys.
There you go. So let's address the most obvious, concern or pain point first. Let's get that out of the way. Like, a lot of people hear prepaid legal and the red flags go off, the fire alarms sound in their head, and because that's associated with multi-level marketing, and a lot of people believe that they have friends that are in MLMs, and I usually refer to those friends as friends with ulterior motives, right? Right, because they're trying to leverage the relationship to get money out of you, right? And so, exactly. And it kind of feels just a little bit slimy at times to be involved with like MLMs and stuff like this. And so what do you usually say to people that's like their concern? They're like, oh, I've heard of, these kind of things.
Okay, so first of all, I call it the groan. Right? It's the prepaid legal groan. Oh, right. So I just let them know, hey, you probably met somebody from that friends and family division of the company. That's not my thing. That's not what I do. I leverage their services. I met those people too. Over 30 of them tried to recruit me while I was at groups growing my business. And my comment was, hey, dude, saw your car, don't want your life. Thanks, but no thanks. And it's really crazy. But because of that, I didn't see the service. So when my doctor had her home equity line of credit stolen and I was in the middle of remodeling her house, she said, what do I do? And I said, oh, there's some prepaid legal thing with some identity theft thing. You should buy it. It was super cheap. Who cares, even if it's crappy? Give it a try. And then I saw the services because I recommended them. And I went, are you kidding me? So the key is it's not about being cheap. People go, oh, well, I can afford real lawyers. Why would I use yours? Right? Because that's what I said. But the key is it's not about affording real lawyers or these aren't real lawyers. I know the partners of these law firms. I've met them because they're standing on my face when I sell the service. They're standing on my reputation. So it's really important for me to know them. They're being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to be there for our clients. And that's the key. And there's service level standards. So as long as I have a good client who's educated well, if they don't go, wow, this was awesome, they need to call me so that I can go stand on someone's desk to make sure that they're living up to their contract. But my job as an agent is to teach you what is in your contract with the company so that you have proper expectations of what it's for. It doesn't do everything, tie your shoes, and it's not like you're never going to need a lawyer. Or I hear people go, our lawyers are better than yours. It's like, yes, they are not. The lawyers are lawyers. It's just a matter of, do we get to use the tool? So the biggest thing is people think that it's something Uncle Joe sells and something Susie Ann wants them to recruit all their friends to. That's not what I do. I am a consultant to teach my clients how to leverage this as a tool to run your business better. And, since DoorGrow, everybody in this group is talking about let's work on our business instead of in our business all the time. What we need to realize is this is a tool for you to leverage for your staff. You're not going to go, hey, Sally, every time you have a question, I need you to, here's my checkbook, call my lawyer and ask if that's the right thing to do. That's crazy. We're not going to say that. But you can say, here's a resource so you can pre-vet what you think. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's what it's for.
So let's start with kind of the why behind this, the benefits. And so let's skip to that section of what we mapped out. Let's tackle that, and then we'll get into some of the challenges and things that this address. So one of the things we had down was it helps you be proactive and preventative in your business without the high hourly legal costs. Could you explain that?
Okay, so what we do, and if you just go through the DoorGrow, it's like, hey, does anybody have a template for this? Or hey, does anybody have, what do you think about that? Or I hear legal questions going all around. And Todd, he's awesome. Call your lawyer, call your lawyer, call your lawyer, right? Those are the things we need to do, but we don't, because there's an hourly rate attached to that. Okay. Right. So we don't pick up the phone and go, I wonder. So be proactive and wonder first and seek wise counsel. That's what it's about. We don't want to seek wise counsel for $350. So we're going to talk to our friends, and then we're going to make an educated decision, a friend decision or a Google decision, but not necessarily one that's been pre-vetted by an attorney that's their job, is to tell us if we're within the law. So we want to be proactive and preventive, and let our staff be proactive and preventive too. Right.
So, and you had mentioned that. So this is a tool that your team can leverage, but it has a fixed cost. Yep. So you can send the team to it, and it's already a sunk or fixed cost in your business, and you can have your team leverage it. And so it's similar almost to having a law firm on retainer.
It's very similar to that. Except on retainer, here's the key. I put a bunch of money in a bucket, okay? And then every time I call, they pull money out of the bucket.
Yeah.
Right? Every time I say, could you review this for me? They pull more money out of the bucket. Every time I send an email and they read it, they pull more money out of the bucket. So there's a schedule of services attached to your fixed rate that you get to leverage. And the average is about $1,250 a year for the average business, especially the property managers. That's the business only services. And it's awesome. We would spend $1,250. Heck, you know what? I couldn't hire somebody to Google my stuff every day, anytime I asked, for around $100 a month. Really?
So can you explain how this doesn't replace their lawyer, but enhances it?
Okay. So we all have our sledgehammers. I call them our Monica, because Robert Locke's been around forever. He's an icon in this industry in the Atlanta market. And he has this woman, and her name is Monica, and she is a sledgehammer of a lawyer. Sledgehammer. So what you want to do is you want to pick up the phone and you want to get some good advice. You want to have some stuff reviewed. If you need to go to that absolute specialist, because the law firm might not always be the best landlord tenant person, or right? They all know the laws. They're all the same laws. Half the time, the property managers know the laws even better than most of the lawyers in the area. But what you do is you have them take a look. You take your 50,000 foot level question and you narrow it down to about 500 feet. So now if I need to call my Sledgehammer, or I've had my staff take my 50,000 foot level question down to 500 feet. Now, if I need to call my Sledgehammer, I'm going to need them for maybe 30 minutes instead of maybe 3 hours, because everything's in a nice little package. I can say, hey, Jason, I just wanted to send this over to you. I've got this template. I've had it reviewed. I think I've got everything in there. Can you give it about a 20-minute workover? That's about what I got in my budget. Just take a look at it and that's the key. Is we want to manage that retainer bucket, if we're still paying one over here, by using this 100% coverage, so we don't have to use as much of that bucket. Make sense?
Yeah. So it's basically, you pre-vet your questions. It's reducing the time and cost needed with the lawyer directly, and and then as part of the prepaid legal, you also get access to Go Small Biz. Could you explain what Go Small Biz is? And how that helps them?
When I first saw this part, I was like, are you kidding me? And I know, so for those of us who are old enough to know, Fran Tarkenton is a really great guy. And he was a wonderful football player, but he's a really, really, really smart entrepreneur. He's started over 17 businesses. And what he did is he amassed this wonderful asset of a brain trust. So he's got consultants. So I use them for all of my pre-vetting. And if you guys go to gosmallbiz.com, you can kind of see some of it. There's a video in there that shows you how it works. It's got some tools in there that are fine for brand new businesses. But for our purposes, I use the consultation tool. So anytime that I need something, I'll send in, like, Jason, you needed a form. Mm-hmm. And so we sent in and we asked for some examples and templates of a form. And then they give them back to us, and we do what we always do. We rob and duplicate. That's what R&D actually means, rob and duplicate.
Okay, not research. Right.
No, it's rob and duplicate.
Okay.
So then we get to send them off to our law firms. So when you use them in conjunction with each other, it's really great. The other thing that I really like about the Go Small Biz part, especially when you're building a team, right? Those people don't always know all sorts of things about business. So we send them to coaches, we do coaching things, we do classes on accounting or whatever it is. There's an entire business general library available inside of Go Small Biz to where you can use that to empower your staff. As an employee, if you invest in their education, if you invest in their knowledge base, they feel far more loyal to you. This way, you can utilize the online aspects of it, and you don't have to take a whole day off work and send them to a $1,500 seminar. So it's a really nice tool to be able to do that. There's a bunch more other things in there, but those are the two things that I use the most.
Okay. So there's all these benefits to having it that we got into. So let's get really clear on what it is. So so you had mentioned that there are these pre-vetted law firms. LegalShield is paying out these large sums of money per month based on the number of subscribers they have in each state.
Correct.
And they have a lot.
Correct. They have a lot. So, right, I think it's 1.75 million memberships covering over 4 million entities, families, businesses, all that together. So the key is the law firm in your state gets a third of every membership dollar to have people on staff pre-vetted and ready to answer your questions. Now, what I want you to know is it's not always perfect. So that's why you need me. You've heard people go, oh yeah, I had it, didn't work. Right?
Yeah.
You need to know that.
We'll get into that. We'll talk all about why having a good agent is important. So now they're making a bunch of money, but that doesn't necessarily mean we should just trust them. And so how does LegalShield ensure that they're meeting a certain level of service?
Okay, so we have A, service level standards, and B, they're on a 45-day revolving contract with LegalShield.
Which means?
That means we can fire that law firm and get a new law firm. And the phone numbers that all the members call belong to LegalShield. And we pipe them into the law firm. They can also monitor how many calls go in, how many times does it ring, how long does it take to call you back, and they have report cards. So once you use your service, they're going to send you a survey. Gather some kudos, if you will, and they're going to send you a survey. And we always want you to answer it appropriately so that we know what our members are saying. Because if we don't know there's a problem with that law firm, we can't fix it.
Yeah. And so they have some sort of quality control over these law firms. Now, what does it mean to be an AV rated law firm? Because you had mentioned that when we were prepping for this.
So the bar associations, it's a peer rating system, right? It's A and then V. So there's three, I believe there's 3 tiers over here in the A, B, or C, and then there's 3 tiers over here in how they are. So AV is the highest rating that you can get.
Okay, so these are the top.
And so there has to be our criteria is there has to be at least one AV rated partner in that law firm, or we don't use them.
Got it. All right, so they've got a high standard. They also have this contract that they're hoping to maintain, and they're getting paid a good amount of money to make sure that they provide a good level of service. All right, so the legal firms are pre-vetted and they're good. Then we talked about Go Small Biz and all the different things you can go to. So I'm going to throw out some of these here. You had mentioned that technology questions, tax questions, accounting questions, any research related questions, and it's cheaper than a teenager doing the research for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
So here's for instance, I needed to, you know how we put 2 screens on our computers?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to get down to the really super easy stuff. I could not figure out how to make it go this way onto the other side of my screen.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to drag my mouse this way to go that way. And it was freaking my head out. It wasn't working and I couldn't figure it out. So I literally just typed in my question. They sent me back the answer. You go to the display settings, by the way. So I've done that. I've asked them questions about, I had a landlord or a property manager in Hawaii who her client wanted her to manage her commercial property, but she didn't have a commercial property lease agreement. So we went in and asked them for a commercial property lease agreement in Hawaii for a small strip mall so that she could rob and duplicate, right? And then have the law firm review it as part of her 100% coverage on her benefits. So you can do that with just about anything. I've asked them to find me trade shows. I've asked them to find me, one of my friends asked them to find out all of the information on bass fishing in Oklahoma in a certain area, what the timing was, where to find the licenses and all that, because he wanted to woo a client who loved to go bass fishing.
Wow.
So he got all the information and he was a hero and they did all the work.
Nice. All right. So they'll Go Small Biz. They'll do a bunch of research for you.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So let's get into all the problems, right? Because let's talk about who could use LegalShield or who needs this. Because a lot of people are thinking, I'm doing just fine. Maybe I don't need this. So I want to paint a picture of all the problems or the problem that LegalShield or having this can solve. And then we can get into why having a good agent is critical. And then we can talk about the process to get started. So let's get into the problem. So the first I had on the list was Vicky's questions, which I guess you had a link
my
to.
questions.
And
okay, so yeah, go ahead.
So explain your questions or ask some questions here for us. But how do we know that this is something we can use? Okay,
so I love to go through a deep dive interview with you guys. And you can always get to that. Just go to Methven Agency and hit calendar and schedule one with me because it's really important. And there's people on this line that are watching that have probably done this. But I have a set of questions and it's like, how many times would you have a lawyer write a letter for you, right? Most of us would say not going to do it. But what we miss is those are motivational letters. So this gives you a source to have a motivational letter written for you, to kind of motivate that person to do what they should have done before you had to call your dang lawyer in the first place, right? Doesn't matter who it is. Right. In the property management industry, we use it for a lot of different things. So they'll write letters for you as part of your service. Debt collection is huge because people always leave owing money, tenants and owners, by the way. We have owners that leave owing money. One of my clients used one of those letters for that because the owner of the property sold it to the tenant that she put in the property. Well, she has in her contract, if she brings the buyer, she gets a commission. Yeah. So she asked the guy 3 times and he ignored her. So she called her law firm, Lombino Martino in Washington State, and they wrote the guy a letter and quoted the contract, and it was a $10,000 commission.
Wow.
Right? So she got a call a couple days later and he said, 10,000 is a lot. Would you take 5? She said, yes, of course I will. Right? So it was one letter that she didn't spend $350 to write, but it came on a law firm's letter. So
it made it $5,000.
If you need to get clients or tenants to do things that they should have done. So motivational letters is big. The other thing that's huge for the property managers is that lawsuit protection. And we all have what I call your go away budget. It's a threshold of money that we just draw the line in the sand and go, okay, well, if it's under that, then just go away, go away, go away. Like, hey, I need my $500 for my deposit back or I'm going to sue you. Well, they probably can't afford to sue you because they're griping over $500 and they didn't leave even one door left on the property and you know it. So you're right, but you can pay that $500 10 or 20 times a year and still be cheaper than one of them actually suing you. So with the lawsuit protection, you have a schedule of hours again, and the scheduled benefits, remember? So schedule of hours in a bucket, and you're going to have 15 pre-trial already. So I can stand up with posture and say, you know what? I've had my contracts reviewed. We've gone over your lease. I've got all the photographic evidence that you don't get your deposit back. And if you want to sue me, I'm going to spend, $5 or $10,000 to prove I'm right. So if that's what you need to do, I guess I wait. Send me the papers. Right. So just taking back that go away budget, you're going to be money ahead than the $1,250 a year of the premium. It's silly, really. That's why people don't believe it, because it's really good. But it's that leveraging, like insurance, leveraging the law of large numbers. And that's what we're doing.
So it's kind of like lawsuit insurance there, just in case. You mentioned it's a just in case fund.
But it's leverage that gives you your just in case fund, gives you back your go away budget.
Now, a lot of property management entrepreneurs, they have E&O insurance. Mm-hmm. And they're thinking, well, maybe I'm kind of covered there.
Fine. If you've made an error or you've omitted something. Mm-hmm. But if I haven't made an error and I haven't omitted anything, why would it cover me? And your general liability insurance may be so as well. But here's the thing. They're only going to defend you where it's better for them. So most of those policies have $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 deductibles. Right. So are you going to turn it over here?
They're primarily looking out for themselves first.
Yep.
The insurance agency.
Of course they are. They're in it to make money.
And they want to cover as little as possible.
Well, here's the thing, Jason, if you're my insurance company and I have an issue and the guy wants $12,000 and you have a $10,000 deductible, am I going to defend it in court for $2,000? No.
Right.
It's a risk reward, ROI.
Okay, so the LegalShield then is additional protection over E&O.
Yes, and I use it first. As a matter of fact, I always suggest that people call the law firm, talk to an attorney, and go, "Is this something that I'm required to report to my E&O insurance?" Because you have to know whether you're supposed to report it.
Okay. And so I had down, like, as I think as an example, maybe discrimination lawsuits, etc.
Okay. So Ann Macaulay, for those of you who know her, it's okay. Just at Ann Macaulay and say, what do you think? Can I trust this woman? Right? Can I trust Vicki? She has had it for years, and she has it for her company. And then she offers the personal and family and identity theft coverages to her staff, but she didn't use it a lot. But she had an issue with a staff member. So she picked up the phone and she called. She didn't even know a labor lawyer, right? She has real estate attorneys. So she called and talked to a labor attorney, and they said, first of all, don't say anything else until we get a look at this. And then they told her exactly what to say, because she wasn't wrong. So many times, things that make us wrong later, right? We might not have been wrong here, but now we're wrong because we said something we shouldn't have said.
By saying it the wrong way.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So we got to be careful about how we say it, and so there's some guidance available there. Okay.
But hey, Jason, I
right,
wanted to say something on the advice part.
What?
Oh, on the advice part, picking up the phone and getting advice, the most proactive preventive thing we can do for our staff. I call it the I wonder benefit, because when you just kind of wonder, take the DoorGrow Group. Let's go in there and get all of this information. Then call your law firm and say, I wonder. I wanted to do this. Do you think that's a good idea? What might that cause in my business? Should I get any blowback? That's probably the most valuable, because that benefit is unlimited. You can call as many times as you want about as many different things. Don't get a bill. I would have bought it for just that, and then I also would have bought it for just the research.
Yeah, there's a lot of instances where we as business owners we're always in a state of wonder, and that's why so many people ask questions inside the DoorGrow Club Facebook group. But and other property managers can be a resource, but they're not obviously lawyers. They can't give you legal advice, and there's a lot of things we just wonder about. And really, if it's a legal question, the best place to go is to somebody that legally is legitimately able to speak on that.
Well, and here's the thing. I tell people, call even if you're just legally lonely. Right? Legally lonely.
Right.
That was a joke, Jason. You're supposed to laugh. But no, you need to call and you need to ask. If it's not a legal question, they'll tell you it's not a legal question.
Okay, cool. So let's get, you're breaking up just a little bit, but I think you're back. All right. So issues needing a legal firm letter. So what are some of the issues where they might need a legal firm letter? We've got some items here. Maybe you could go through those.
Okay. So I've got a tenant who's behaving badly and not listening to my property manager when they send them a letter, or they make a call, or they send them a text message or an email, right? I had a guy who was using the upstairs patio for a bathroom, the teenage son of the lady who lived up there, right? Well, the lady with the 6-year-old downstairs wasn't so happy, but he didn't want to do it. It could be something as bad as that, or someone who just parks in the wrong place, or won't take in their trash cans, or won't mow their grass, or whatever it is, or an owner who doesn't want to fix something, and that you have to do that because HUD says this has to be done. So it could be anything. It could be a municipality who won't release a building permit. It could be a water department. Anytime when a motivational letter will help.
Write these letters. It'll have a law firm, their letterhead on it, and that looks scary to people.
It's very scary. It ends up in a different place, right? It's a different place in the mail.
From the law firm. Yeah. Okay, great. So nasty tenants. What about on the owner side?
On the owner side, if I need to let an owner know that he has to fix something, or if an owner is calling a tenant or going by the property and wanting to see it, or all these things that are that are interfering with that tenant's, they have a right to enjoy their property. Sure. I forget the term, but they have a right to peacefully enjoy where they live. And if the owner is interfering, maybe they need a little law lesson.
All right. And then municipalities. Could you explain that?
There's a lot of times when, say, you take on a property and it needs some renovation and you need building permits, or the city won't come out and there's a leak in the water line and they're not coming out, they're not moving fast enough. Those kinds of things, you might need to motivate a municipality. The building inspector you're putting you too far down on the list, or whatever it is. A lot of times government agencies will tell you what you're supposed to do, but that's not really what you're supposed to do. So sometimes to pick up the phone and call and check, and then know what the regulations are, and have a law firm write a letter to a municipality to say, this is not the way it works, and this is what you need to do, and it's RCW blah 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 that states it.
Yeah,
it gives you
if your job is to protect the owner, also to protect the tenant, and then the municipality is saying, hey, we want you to do things a certain way, and it's not in their interest or in your interest, then you can have them take a look at that for you. Okay. Yeah. And then the last we had was vendors, absolutely. Right? So vendors who fail or difficult vendor situations.
Okay, so I was a general contractor for 16 years. So I've used this on subcontractors. So the vendors that fail, I get it. Sometimes they're not going to come out and fix what they did. Sometimes you need to go after their insurance. We had a big conversation going about additionally insured in the group. And sometimes you just need to take steps to move them out there. If I'm a vendor and I'm short-staffed and I've got higher paying jobs out here and you've already paid me for this one, you're a little bit down there on my list, because now you're not an incoming asset. So sometimes we just need to motivate them to get their butt out there and fix what it is, especially if it's something like heat, air, water, anything like that.
Some of the essentials. All right. So those are all some of the issues that could be used for legal letters. Now, contracts. This is something that I get really interested in, because contracts, like property management, business owners in general, we live and die by our contracts. This is what protects us. So maybe you could touch on just contract changes. I mean, this is stuff that's changing constantly for property managers.
Okay, so Michelle Rozenek out in Seattle, she's had her property management industry or her property management business forever and ever and ever. What happens is the contracts, everybody's going to agree that the contracts change. We add things to the contract because we got burnt there and we got burnt there and we got burnt there. So we're not going to get burnt there again. So we make those changes and we don't have them reviewed by counsel every time we do it. So we could be invalidating something else. We could be violating someone's rights. We could be doing a lot of things. So you can get that advice. You can have those contracts reviewed, but it's not just your management agreement and your lease, which I recommend you put in a 6-month rotation. Have someone's eyes on it every 6 months or so, because what happens is the laws change.
Right.
That's just what they do.
Meaning landlord-tenant laws.
We also have exactly, but we also have other kinds of contracts in our business. We have employment contracts. We have 1099 agreements. We have all sorts of things. In this industry, there's tons of 1099 agreements. Guess what? I spent $10,000 on a lawsuit because the state of Washington tried to stick me with $30,000 worth of taxes for somebody who was a legitimate 1099 contractor. So make sure you know what legitimate 1099 contractor is, what you can and cannot ask them to do, all of those things. Have your policies and procedures, have your tenant handbook reviewed, have your employment manual, all of that.
Maybe have a contract
it's good to get someone's eyes on it
on record before work commences.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And what about all the stuff that you're asked to sign that someone else provides?
Have them have a look at it. before, so you feel safe. Let me have my lawyer
Yeah.
take a look at it. Yeah.
Exactly. It only takes
Okay.
3 days, Jason. They have a 3-day turnaround. That's why the service level standards
Got it.
contract.
Okay.
I never got a 3-day turnaround with my $350 an hour lawyer.
So that's the other
ever.
thing. So legal review, they'll review contracts, letters, notices sent to you that you're concerned about. You know, is this legit? Do I need to worry about this? Okay. And then the other item we had on the list, as far as the problem, one of the problems that that business owners are dealing with is dangerous, unvetted advice. I think we touched on that just a little bit, but maybe you could just explain, like, what's, you know, dangerous advice or unvetted advice.
Okay, so we get a lot of really good advice from a lot of people, but they might not necessarily live in
Right.
our state. They might have, right? That's probably the biggest one, is you have federal laws, state laws, local laws, municipalities, right. Everything changes. So you want to make sure that everything is appropriate for your municipality. But we want to make sure that we're asking the questions appropriately. So like when I personally call, I have a form that I made up for my kids. So this is one of the things that we can teach our staff members, how to use the law firms. And I did it for my kids, and it's super simple. It's, hey, I need advice on this, because that advice is covered 100%, right? What are my rights and responsibilities in this situation? How can you help me make this situation better under the 100% coverage of my service? Because sometimes we want to coach those lawyers to stay in that 100% coverage, right? They do want to bill you more, I guarantee you, but we want to stay in that 100% coverage. And then you're going to say, what's my next step? And what should I expect to happen when I take that step? Because once you find out what you should expect to happen, you might not want to take that step. You might want to go, ooh, I don't want that. Let's take another step. And then, hey, by the way, how might my situation be different or better today if I would have called you sooner in the process? I had a business owner call and say, I need to get your membership because I need to file a fraud lawsuit. And I said, okay, well, do you want this to be an ongoing tool for your business forever, or do you just want it for right this minute? He goes, no, I just need to file a fraud lawsuit right now. I said, okay, well, then you're probably not my client, because that's not what this is about. So I said, let me ask you a question. Did you wake up this morning and this issue hit your desk and you said, I need to file a fraud lawsuit? He said, well, no, it's been going on for 6 months. I said, okay, so 6 months ago when this started to rear its ugly head, you could have called, got some advice, had it looked over, maybe written someone a letter, and maybe dissolved this situation before you need to file a fraud lawsuit.
That's if a fire starts in the kitchen, you put it out as fast as possible, right? So if there's a fire, you want to, and even better, be proactive and, you know, be preventative to deal with that. So that's a perfect segue into this next section, which is the challenges, like why getting a good agent is critical. So you had mentioned that you have these questions that you educate your clients on asking, even though they're you know, part of the prepaid legal thing, there's an art and maybe even a science to making sure that you use it properly, you stay within your coverage limits. The lawyers don't, you know, probably upsell you or put you into, you know, more expensive things. So you're staying within your coverage and you're using it properly. So so let's get into this. Why is it so important to get the right agent? Because you could go find just about any Joe Schmo off the street, sign up for LegalShield for your business and get going on this. And that is a huge disadvantage because the law firms are looking to, you know, obviously make money where they can, and LegalShield is a system, and there isn't really a person there in between looking out for you unless you have a really good agent. So explain the benefit of having a good agent.
Okay, so I'm going to use one of LegalShield's brand new relationships as an example. Because I'm a trainer. I've been training their sales agents since 2009 on how to properly educate a client on to use this service. So LegalShield just partnered with
Okay.
Office Depot, and they have this thing called My Biz Box, right? And my phone blew up with agents going, what are they doing? Well, here's the thing. So I called as a client. I secret shopped it. And what I got was, oh yeah, it's kind of a referral service and you can ask about 3 or 4 questions a year if you like. I'm like, oh, thanks, right? That's not what the service does. But these are the people that are selling it. So what happens is you get people, you need a person that understands business, that's been there, that's done that, that's got the financial scar tissue, that will build the relationships with the law firm. So Jason, say you're with the California law firm. I happen to know that the California law firm does not have a culture of over delivering. So you better know what the contract says and how to leverage that contract. And that's my job to teach you as your agent. That's why I get paid. But the Washington State law firm, they have a culture of over delivering. So I need to be careful that I don't tell you what they do, because then you're going to have an unrealistic expectation. My job is to educate you on what your policy covers, what your contract covers, and then keep you on track.
Within that
if you have a problem, your job as a client is to call me and say, hey, I was less than excited when I used the service. But you would give me a chance to cure your problem, right? Just like any property management company wouldn't want an owner to go, hey, I drove by my house and the lawn wasn't mowed, so you're fired, right? Or whatever. So we have it's about a relationship, and you need to have someone who's willing to do that. The other thing is, for most of our law firms, I have the partners over in here. So I can call. Now, they don't take calls from anybody, but I'm pretty ballsy. So I pick up the phone and I learn their names, and I will call the partners and say, look, I'm marketing this service in your state, and you are standing on my face when you and your staff deliver this statement, or when you deliver the service that I'm selling. Let's be together on this so we make sure that we're doing the right thing, so that I'm properly educating a client. And if my client has a problem, I'm calling you. And if my client is creating a problem with unrealistic expectations, I expect you to call me. And so I have those relationships, and I'm willing to stand up and do that. That's one of the reasons why I go to the LegalShield conferences every year. Not so that I can go listen to any of the hoo-ha from the network marketing part, but I stay I book myself into the same hotel where all the lawyers stay, because all their lawyers, the partners and everybody show up at these events, right? So I book myself in there and I go buy a lot of drinks.
Got it.
But that's what we need to do to make sure that we're that leverage for our
client. So you help them know what questions to ask so that they stay within the coverage. You know who they need to call if there's, or which resources to go to within the system if they have a particular need. So just like myself or my wife Ashley, we reached out to you and said, hey, we have this need, or we need this document, or we need this reviewed, and you've guided us towards knowing how to use the system or where to go to get those things taken care of.
Right. And that is not always going to be inside of LegalShield, guys. That's not always going to be it. Sometimes, like for some of your stuff, I have somebody else that I'm going to refer you for some of that stuff, because it's not always the best. Like evictions, don't use a LegalShield law firm to do your evictions. I did it. I used my LegalShield to do my eviction because I needed to know what it was like. I had to test the water. And that's not the best case.
So you, the next item we had is you understand the limitations of the contract with LegalShield, what's included and what's not. So you can guide the clients. So if there is something that is better elsewhere, you were mentioning that you can send them to it. Okay. And then how to access what is included and understanding why things must be done in a certain way. And I also had down, a good agent will educate your support staff and team on how to use the plan as well. So, which I think is also key, that we can have a team member or a staff member rather than the business owner, everything always being on our plate. Oh, the team needs this and the business needs this. All right, I'm the business owner. Now I have to go get this problem taken care of. So we can get rid of that.
Exactly. So you hire a $20 an hour person, right, to do a $20 an hour job. And that $20 an hour person brings you $20 an hour problems that you have to now have with $200 an hour time. That is a bad ROI. So that's really what it's for. And I learned that the hard way. So I have a lot of financial scar tissue with everything I do. I think I'm an experiential learner, and sometimes that just really sucks. But let's take my experiential learning and let you guys not have to experience some of that. And what happens is we want to make sure that when we call, we ask for the right thing. So like under the personal plan, because I do a lot of employee benefits too. So under the personal plan, I would never call the law firm and say, hey, I need a divorce, right? I would call the law firm and say, hey, and this is what I did, by the way. Hey, I'm considering divorce in Georgia. What are the laws? What do I have to do about retirement accounts? You know, is it an alimony state? All these things. So it's about using the educate me Obi-Wan factor first. And that's really what we want to do with this service. So let's teach your staff to leverage it. So now they can go and take their, I wonder, or, oh my gosh, what is this? And have it dealt with. And maybe instead of bringing you a problem, they can bring you 2 or 3 solutions that you can then go,
that sounds good.
Oh, pick that one. And you don't have to give them a blank check.
Yeah, it's a big thing with my team. I tell them that if you're going to bring a problem, make sure you have a potential solution or two to bring to the table too. Because it's a lot easier for us as business owners to say,
exactly.
What do you think? And they say, well, I have this option or this option. And go, yeah, do that. Right. So it allows them to think. All right. So another thing we had is help you become more proactive and preventative with all business issues. So we talked about the fires. So being proactive and preventative is going to be far more effective in a business. If a business is reacting and putting out fires, they're not creating. You're not able to get into the space where you're focused on business development or growth because you're reacting to everything that's already happening. And so you can't become proactive to create change in your business. So your business is operating on default. You have a default future. You have a default level of results. You know where you're going to be in a year from now, probably because you know where you were a year earlier because you aren't creating a different future. And so this allows you to get out of that sort of reactive space if you have a good agent that you can bring these things to, right? Proactively. So how many different types of issues have you dealt with, you know, since being part of LegalShield?
Okay, so that's insane. I couldn't even tell you. I have good clients. Christy Villani, she'll call and go, hey, I need to do this. And you told me that I needed to call you before I called the law firm at least the first 3 times. Exactly. And that's one of the things that I like to do is say, okay, before you call the law firm, you call me and you ask your question. You say, what are you going to say to them? And I go,
don't ask
say
like
that. Right? Don't ask like that. So I like to do that. Yeah. I've dealt with issues of a $50,000 lawsuit by an employee, an insurance company that wanted to settle, right, for something that they had no liability for in the first place. Nasty tenants. I have one client that the mom and dad owned the company and then they sold it to their daughter and her husband. And so Jim and Debbie didn't use the service very much. They viewed it more like insurance. But when Jody and Kevin took over, they used it because they needed that extra help. They're like, we need the extra learning curve. So they started using the debt collection letters for tenants who left owing money. So they pick up the phone when the tenant leaves and they send that disposition of a deposit. They pick up the phone and call the law firm, send them over the information, and have a debt collection letter written right on the heels of it. Because then you still know where the guy is, right? He hasn't skipped. And it comes out scary. So what they were telling me is 25 to 50% of the time, they were getting money wrapped in a letter from the lawyers in the mail. Debbie, we were at a NARPM show, and Debbie watched my booth for me because I had to go to the bathroom and I did the show by myself. And she said, right, she goes, oh my gosh, you need to hear the story. I went into the office because I was bored and I was opening the mail, and I'm opening these things, and there's like checks wrapped in letters from that law firm. I'm like, that's great, Dad. You need to tell everybody at the show all about that. But so there's all sorts of things. Use it for your pre-collection debt collection. It's not going to get everything, but the ones that are maybe, it'll kick them off of the fence.
So let's point out this is another benefit to working through you or having a really good agent involved in this is you are a NARPM member. You've been involved with NARPM for how long? Yeah. And so you've been involved with NARPM for a while, and you're familiar with property management. I mean, there's a unique set of challenges, and you've probably heard with all the clients that you have, you probably heard a myriad of different issues. And I mean, there's probably not too many things now that are coming across your desk that are like absolute shockers or surprising. Oh, I've never heard that before. Right.
No, it's a special kind of crazy.
Yes. Okay, cool. So, and the last thing I had was better pricing ? So.
Oh, okay. So here's the really cool part is because of the DoorGrow Group, because of all of this, I've leveraged the size of your group, and LegalShield has given us a group pricing. So the business plan is the same price no matter where you buy it. But on the personal side, so like you and Ashley protected your family and your identities, especially on the property management side, we all have professional licenses. If someone goes and commits a crime in our name or just registers as a sex offender with an address that tracks back to us, we're host. So on the family services side, whether it's an employee benefit or for your family in general, you guys get up to a 15% discount off of those services just because I leveraged the group. So I booked in that organizational stuff. Again, something that an inexperienced agent would not only not be able to do, they wouldn't even know it even existed.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think the last thing then is let's get into what's the process? How do people get started? And what's kind of the first steps?
Okay, so I always prefer if we can go through some education. You guys have really gotten a giant step of what I would do in a deep dive right here today. So that's probably okay. If you go to DoorGrow.methvenagency.com, there's a site right there. It's got DoorGrow and Open Potion up here. It's LegalShield's site. And that way you can get it. I did have a client who that plan that she needed was $103.95 a month. And she sent me an email and said, oh, I signed up for the other one that was like $39. Tell me why. I'm like, well, you have no lawsuit protection. You're a property manager. That is not the appropriate plan for you. Just, you can do that, but make sure you know what you're self-insuring, what kind of risks you're self-insuring. So they can go there. They can see the plans. I really highly recommend that each person set a deep dive in my calendar. Go to methvenagency.com, hit the calendar, set a deep dive. It's a 30-minute. We'll go through the questions. We'll give you a side-by-side retail to LegalShield. It's a roadmap. So you can give that to your staff and say, look, these are the issues that I expect you to call on. These are the issues that I expect you to use this service for. And if you have any questions, here's Vicky's name and number. You're required to call her. When we do a deep dive, all we have to do is we can record that deep dive because I use GoToMeeting, and I'll just hit record. And then I can give you that recording so you can make your staff watch it. And they'll know exactly why you bought it, why they are supposed to access the tool, how to do it, and they will get that same conversation. What I've found in my business over the last 10 years working with this company is when I teach you, Jason, how to use the service, Ashley didn't know one thing that we were talking about. So she didn't know how to use the service. Now I get to go do that again. Guess what? I I am a mom. I am done. I don't want to clean it twice. So there you go. And that's really the case. And the key is be transparent, and I don't care. There's no stupid questions. There are no dumb questions. My dad taught me that when I was little. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. But I will be the best agent that you've ever had for anything you've ever bought, ever. But you have a responsibility in that. And your responsibility is to be a good client. And I don't know you're having a problem if you don't let me know. I did bring on a lady to help take care of a lot of that mundane daily stuff so that I could go and sell more and educate more and do that. And Jason's helping me with a bunch of things to help leverage me, because there's just me and I really don't want to be a giant company. I just don't. So I'm adding things to my book of business, those kinds of things. So I've got a lot of relationships. Let's leverage them. It's not always about something that I do. It might be about something someone else does. So call me. I probably know someone. I've been around these halls for a long time. And all of you NARPA members have educated me. I've sat through your classes and I've gone through your ethics classes and I've sat through tons of them. So you guys teach me what you need, and then I make sure that I can hook you with the right resources. My job in the world is to be good conduit.
Well, I know that before I looked at the website and I'd heard Vicki talk about it, and it's just so much easier to get on the phone with you, have you just guide people through the steps, making sure they're picking the right plan, signing up right, all that. So I recommend everybody reaches out to Vicki and gets going on this. If you feel like this is a fit, it sounds like a no-brainer for property managers to bridge that gap between what they know when it comes to landlord-tenant law and maybe the services that they have of their lawyer. It's kind of this missing sort of middle piece that I think they could use. And LegalShield's not the only thing that you do. You're an agent, so there's a lot of other services that you offer. But today we're talking about LegalShield, and I think it would be a nice arsenal or tool in the property manager's, in their arsenal. And so reach out to Vicki. So anything else that we should let anybody know before we wrap this up?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is nothing that you do in your business is the end all be all. It's about a collaboration. It's about bringing things together and really looking at who you are and what your company is holistically. So everything is different. Every company is different. Everybody is different. I'm not always the best fit for people because sometimes people can't take the fact that I'm pretty real. So if you need warm and fuzzy and fluffy and cuddly, probably not me.
All right.
But I can find you someone who's cuddly.
All right, cool, Vicki. Thanks for coming out and spend some time with me today to go over this stuff. I thought this would be a really good benefit to our audience, and I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me.